Hello, and welcome back to Whysosidious, a nerd podcast where we travel from a galaxy far, far away to Talocan, MIT, and Wakanda, breaking down and discussing all of our favorite nerd properties. I'm your host, David Cochran, and here with me tonight are my co-hosts, Caleb Culver and Jeremy Darr. And tonight, we are going to be covering the final movie of Phase 4 MCU, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, directed and co-written by Ryan Coogler, and also written by Joe Robert Cole. Before we get started, we'd love if you followed us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at whysosidiouspod. Always posting, always looking for interaction, so go hit us up and let's interact.
Hell yeah. Nailed it.
If that doesn't get you in, I don't know what will. Some upcoming programming reminders. We have our coverage of Andor Episode 11 that Caleb and JD will be bringing you, as I will be out of town most likely. And we will be getting into some fun episodes after that, covering the best comic book movies of 2022, possibly releasing our very own awards show for all of the properties of 2022, and more. So tune in for that. So this movie has done pretty damn well at the box office. $180 million domestic opening weekend, $360 million worldwide, kind of blew Black Adam out of the water and took any remaining possibility of box office money from Black Adam. It's looking to be pretty successful. So critic reception has been amazing, actually even more so than the audience reception, which is a little interesting there. The audience was a little bit more mixed reviews than I expected. So, guess it is what it is.
So, best November opening of all time.
Really? Didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
13th best opening ever.
Wow.
Change the hierarchy of the MCU forever.
The MCU is back, baby. Yep. Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, honestly, it is, bro. It's been trash since No Way Home.
That's awesome.
I shouldn't.
Trash
That's
is pretty
exaggerating.
harsh, but yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, that was harsh. That was
good. Yeah, stay with it. It was trash.
Fucking sucked. No, Moon Knight was good.
Yeah, no, they had some. They just started slacking a bit, but this was a very, very welcoming return to form. So, if you have not seen the movie yet, go ahead and go buy yourself a ticket, go watch it, or if you got to bootleg it, I guess. I'm not telling you to do it. Whatever you need to do, go check out the movie, come back, listen to the pod, because we will be getting into full spoiler territory. With all that being said, let's jump into this episode. So real quick, well, it's our episode of the movie. Come on, JD.
My apologies.
All right, so real quick summary of the movie. We open up with T'Challa dying from an unnamed illness as Shuri rushes to create a cure, but it is too late. We get an incredibly meaningful and emotional tribute to T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman, and a moment of silence title card as we see scenes from Chadwick's time in the MCU. We then travel a year forward to Queen Ramonda telling the world how sketchy they are and how little Wakanda trusts them with vibranium, and the scene cuts back and forth to the Dora Milaje giving French soldiers the business as they try to acquire the vibranium. Queen Ramonda tries to help Shuri get over the death by getting in touch with her spiritual side, and as she is doing this, we get our first introduction to the villain Namor as he explains his mission to prevent vibranium from being mined by the surface world by killing Riri Williams. The Wakandans set off to find Riri, decide to protect her instead as they realize she is a college student. After a failed escape, Shuri and Riri are taken to the underwater city of Talocan, and Namor lays out his deal to Shuri: either join them in fighting the surface world or be the first victim of the Talocan's wrath. Nakia invades and rescues Shuri and Riri, killing Talocans in the process and officially starting the war between Wakanda and Talocan. The Wakandans prepare for an invasion, but not really well enough, as Namor and his people fled Wakanda and kill many, key among them being Queen Ramonda. Namor says to Shuri that they will be back in 1 week. Bury your dead, mourn your losses, you are now queen. As Wakanda is evacuated into the Jabari Mountains, Shuri's loss and M'Baku's words lead Shuri to recreating the heart-shaped herb and reviving the Black Panther. The Wakandans lead a counterattack into the middle of the sea, and we get our third act final fight that worked much better than the first movie. Shuri's plan to dehydrate and weaken Namor works, and Shuri spares his life after a visit from her mother from the ancestral plains. Namor yields, the war ends, and the current state of the MCU is revived. And to top it off, the movie ends with an incredibly touching end credits scene where Shuri is introduced to T'Challa and Nakia's secret son, Prince T'Challa. Oh, I'm getting chills just literally just talking about that scene. I'm starting to think of it, and it's giving me chills.
By the way, great summary there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was
I take it back.
Damn it! I knew I should have accepted it and moved forward. Dude, what a refreshing movie. What a refreshing return to form. So real quick, before we dive into it, I wanted to ask both of you. Let's start off with you, JD. Did this movie meet, exceed, or fall short of expectations for you?
Totally exceeded expectations, dude. I loved this movie. More than I expected, and I thought it would be good, and I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
I'll just keep it at that because we're going to dive in much deeper later, but I'll just keep it at that.
Okay. Lub, what about you?
Yeah, it definitely exceeded my expectations. Like, this movie was no easy task to pull off because of obviously what happened to Chadwick Boseman. So, yeah, I agree with JD.
Okay. And I'm on the border of exceed and met just because I was really hyped for this movie. But I'll say exceed too, just because they really did nail all the tough aspects to do, and it was a huge success. So I'm going to give them the exceed too. All right, I wanted to ask one more question real quick. Which did you like more, the original or this movie? We'll start off with you, Lub.
So it's hard for me to decide yet completely because I've only seen the second one time.
Okay.
So I think for now I have to put the first one ahead of it just because of how like monumental it was, and having, like the first black superhero, and Killmonger was a pretty dope villain. I just have to see the second one a second time, and then I can really decide. But for now,
That's fair.
First one.
Okay. JD, what about you?
I like it much more than the first one. I really did.
Okay.
I think the first one might be a little overrated. I don't know. I liked Killmonger. Namor is better as a villain, and Killmonger was great, but I loved Namor. And the whole thing with Chadwick Boseman's passing, the way they handled it with a brand new lead character, everything. Like, I just liked it more.
Well, since you answered that way, I'll lead into something else real quick. But I'll say I thought this one was better. I need to go rewatch Black Panther, but this one just felt better all the way through. There were a lot of highs in Black Panther, but the third act in this one, being as solid as it was, I think pushed it over for me. It was just a more complete movie for me. But I got to go back and rewatch. But since you answered that way, and we just got your answer about that, Lub, what villain did you think was better, Namor or Killmonger?
I gotta go Killmonger.
Yeah?
Ooh.
I like the aspect of he's like the forgotten child of Wakanda. He comes back and takes the throne, wants to do things his way.
Story-wise,
Okay.
Killmonger was really good.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. It's tough, though. It's really tough. It's just Killmonger was so freaking good. And Namor was amazing. I love him. I'm stoked we still have him. So nothing against Namor, and I'm not positive on this. But Killmonger was just such a unique and just awesome villain. And Michael B. Jordan, every single second on screen was just incredible. And again, Namor was too. Oh, shoot. Who's the actor who portrays Namor? I'm blowing it.
Tenoch Huerta?
Yes, Tenoch Huerta. There you go. Killed it. He absolutely killed it. But I think I might have to give the nod to Killmonger, which is amazing when you have that, you got to choose that much between two villains of the two movies of Black Panther. You don't get that in Marvel trilogies or, whatever the case is. It's not like Iron Man had a bunch of good villains. It's not
They're both top 5.
Yeah, exactly. Black Panther provided us with two of the best villains we've ever gotten. So, in 30 movies.
Ryan Coogler, dude, provided us with that stuff. I'm more impressed with him as a director ever. Like now, dude.
Yeah, I trust that dude. Like, if he wants to take on Secret Wars, I'm here for it.
I wish it was official. I don't think it is.
Yeah, no, not
That's a
yet,
rumor?
But yeah, there's rumors that they've been talking to him about the idea of him doing it. Which I guess saying that out loud doesn't sound. There's rumors of him having talks of maybe doing it. Like, it's not very concrete, but well, I've got a couple other questions for you, but we'll save them for into the middle of the episode. Let's get into the tribute to Chadwick Boseman and the character of T'Challa. Man, I will say one thing. There's a line that Chadwick has in Civil War that plays such a huge role in this and kind of giving people peace, maybe even depending, I guess, on what your beliefs are or whatever. But even despite your beliefs, whatever the case is, the line that he says to Natasha Romanoff where he goes, "In my culture, death is not the end." And it was just like such a cool line to kind of remember. Again, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, whatever the case is. It's just kind of a really cool line and heartbreaking, though, that it came to this and that it's reflecting so much on Chadwick Boseman So what did you guys think about the tribute itself? JD, I'll start with you. Did it do its job? Did it feel natural? How did you think the tribute was?
So I loved it. It was almost like saying goodbye to a friend, which sounds so dorky because he's just some dope celebrity that we followed through a few movies. Mm-hmm. But he made such an impact from the second he showed up in Civil War.
Yeah.
Which was such an amazing introduction to the character itself. And through that movie and then his own Black Panther movie and just 2 Avenger movies, he did an incredible job playing this as such a significant character as a king of Wakanda and defending Wakanda against Thanos' army and being the first person to walk through the portal in Endgame to face Thanos' army again. We got to know him very quickly, and he captivated us as an audience. And his passing was so abrupt. Like, he was just gone. Out of nowhere, he was introduced as the most significant, like one of the most significant characters in the MCU, and all of a sudden he's gone. And we had no idea he had cancer.
Right.
All of a sudden, you know what I mean? And we needed a goodbye to his character, and I feel like this movie did a great job at giving us a chance to say goodbye to him. And the movie really brought that feeling home. This is probably like, honestly, the most emotional movie I have had a chance to watch. Wow. Seeing the intro was his funeral, and the Marvel logo came up with all the images of Chadwick. That was very emotional. And the ending with Shuri finally throwing the garments into the fire and saying goodbye herself before she met his son T'Challa. Mm-hmm. It was like a really good goodbye. And so very powerful.
Yeah. Love, how'd it hit for you?
Yeah, if I was like in a theater by myself, there probably would have been like more tears streaming down my face than there was. But yeah, like Tony Stark's death was probably the saddest moment in the MCU to date. But this was just on a whole nother level because it's a real person who died, not just Iron Man. Mm-hmm. So that intro like really hit me, and the end too.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, I teared up. Obviously, I went and saw it a second time. The second time I watched the intro, I teared up a little bit more. Actually, the first time I was just kind of sad, but it hit me the second time watching. And that post credit scene, I'm not gonna lie, my cheeks were wet. Like I wasn't sobbing, but there was some tears that made it out of the old eye sockets there. Like that was.
Right.
But it was a cool emotional thing. Like it was almost like a happy kind of thing because again, it's not happy, it's a part of the movie, but it was just a really touching way to kind of send that off. And I just thought they handled it so well. Like even the opening scene too. Like we get past that moment of silence and everything. Or no, that was after. But the opening scene, Shuri's scrambling to find a cure. And we learned that T'Challa had an unknown illness that he was hiding from everyone until it was too late, which is exactly what happened with Chadwick. And I thought that was kind of maybe a bold move to take, but it worked so well. I thought that was a great way of kind of combining the two.
They didn't really explain it too much.
Right. Yeah, no, I think they handled it just right with that. Like they mentioned his name a few times and they jumped right into it. And I was just done really well.
One of my, someone I usually agree with online who reviews these movies said they had a problem with the fact that they didn't explain how T'Challa died.
Really?
And I totally disagreed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, we all as an audience know what happened.
Yeah.
And we don't need an explanation in a fantasy situation and in a movie to figure out why he died so that could fit into the MCU or some bullshit. Like, we know what's going on. And all we saw was Shuri trying to figure out a way to save him, and I thought that was the best possible way to do it.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need him dying in some, like, cosmic space battle and taking a blow to the chest,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a really graceful way of doing it. And I just, in the post-credit, like, when I thought it was already done, we were past it, that was just such a nice way to end it. And honestly, I think that's going to go down as one of the best post-credit scenes in the MCU as a whole, because it had so much levity to it, and it actually really meant something. Not even obviously for the future of the MCU, even though that could result in us seeing a young adult T'Challa growing up as we possibly time jump. But just as a whole, the way they did that with the post-credit scene, I thought it was just handled great. And Ryan Coogler, dude, congrats to you, man. Because we were talking about it. I was like, I don't know how he's going to do this. And I kind of almost feel for him because this is going to be such a hard and important task to take on that the whole world is basically watching him to see what he does. And he delivered, man.
So I thought that was one of the biggest struggles, whether or not you're going to recast T'Challa.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a genius way to do it. Although he's very young, I don't know if he's going to be the Black Panther for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But to have his son be named T'Challa, it's almost like you're not even recasting T'Challa.
Right.
Like, yeah, of course it's going to be a new character. Of course he's going to be a different person, but it's T'Challa, and he will be Black Panther. And I thought that was a genius way to not recast Chadwick Boseman, but to bring in his son as T'Challa to be Black Panther in future movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was great. So looking forward to see what happens. Obviously, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. I thought that was a perfect way to handle that situation. All right, so let's get into more happier, brighter topics. So let's jump into the Wakandans. So we get that opening scene, dude. It's cutting back and forth between the UN and Queen Ramonda is basically like being interrogated. Like, you said you were going to share your resources. You promised to do this and that. And, you know, they're just grilling her while they're sending in soldiers to infiltrate. Dude, but we get the scene of the Dora Milaje. And honestly, the Dora Milaje is one of the dopest things in the entire MCU. Like, every time they're on screen, I freaking love it. I love Oye, Okoye, Nakia, even though she's not Dora Milaje. But their action scenes are so freaking fun to watch. That scene in Korea and Black Panther, the first one, is one of my favorite action sequences in all the MCU. And we get the Falcon and Winter Soldier fight scene with U.S. Agent and the Dora Milaje. I just love them, bro. Their spear play, everything is just so fun to watch. And it was such a cool little opening scene for them.
Totally. And the way they opened the door when they thought they finally got their hands on the vibranium, and then the freaking Dora Milaje comes out of the shadows and takes care of business.
It's just so dope. We got the introduction of Annika in this scene. She's using those little daggers that Shuri gave.
Yeah.
You're like, we're not using that. Like, as long as I'm here, we're not going away from the spear. And Okoye's talking about how it's like useful. And Oye's like, I told you not to bring it.
Daggers straight out of the comics, bro. That was sick.
Are they? Okay, I didn't know that.
Love to see the daggers. Yeah.
And of course, going back to the courtroom scene, of course, all the other countries, once they find out, they just want a piece of it. And then they're sending in like undercover people to take it anyways when they don't want to have it.
Yeah.
Dude.
And I know T'Challa was, you know, doing this out of the goodness of his heart to be like, we're going to open our doors to the world.
Right.
But it's having some negative consequences, that's for sure. And I'm sure a lot of Wakandans are actually pissed, I would have to imagine, that he did that because, you know, they want their country to remain whole. And he kind of exposed them in doing so, even though it was a benevolent idea to do so. But yeah.
And I love that they just kind of reestablished the status of Wakanda in the world and what people expect out of them and the geopolitical structure out of that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
And Ramonda said it perfectly. She's like, we're not worried about the potentially dangerous situation of vibranium. We're worried about you people.
Yeah.
And then right after that, she brings in these groups of spec ops dudes who just killed people trying to get their hands on vibranium. And France, I'm pretty sure they were showing that the French were trying to get their hands on vibranium. And they're like, yeah, we just captured these people, brought them into court. Mm-hmm. It's like they just killed people trying to get vibranium. Here they are.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are the problem, not our resources.
Yeah. I love how she was like, you know, I hear the whispers, you know, our king is dead. We're vulnerable, you know, yada, yada. But just you wait, or just so you know, Wakanda will always be defended, even if we're vulnerable with our prince, like, or with our king being lost like that. Like, yeah, it was just, dude, Angela Bassett killed it in this movie.
Oh my God. I was just
like,
for sure.
Oh my God, she deserves nominations. She absolutely killed it in this movie. Every scene she had.
She's one of my favorite actresses.
Yeah. Okay.
Because everything, she's like a Tywin Lannister, but female. Or every scene she's in is just so powerful, and she chews up this, you know, the scenery.
Yeah.
Especially in this movie.
Yeah.
She was a good actor before, but this movie, she freaking shined. Every bit of screen time she was in, it was so believable.
Yeah.
And she's 64 years old, and she's like,
is she
ripped? She's jacked.
I was gonna say she's got traps, bro. Like, she's jacked. She's got some shoulders going. Yeah, she's over 60, huh? I mean, I know she's been around for a while, but dude, the emotion she brought to this movie, like, oh my God, she was awesome. Yeah, apparently, so Annika, apparently in the comics, her and Oye, who is the main Dora Milaje, who's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the bald one, But apparently, Oye and Annika are like a couple in the comics, and they actually end up wearing that Midnight Angel outfit that we see in the movie here. So they actually end up like forming a separate kind of operative team wearing those suits, and they go around and kick some ass. And apparently their main thing is like taking out sex traffickers. Like there's a whole thing going on with Wakandan women and people across the world, and they just go around and kick ass. So yeah, it was a cool little thing. So they're flying back to Wakanda, and we got this pretty cool little parallel as Okoye is flying, and she goes, "My queen, we are home." And it's the same exact score. And it's the same thing she says to T'Challa in Black Panther when they're coming in the opening scene. And I love that score. It's kind of like the African harmonizing. I don't really know what the name of it is, the singing they're doing, but I love it. I don't know what it is, but it just sets the mood so well. And so, yeah, they did the whole thing, and it just reminded me a lot of that. And again, was touching because anytime you're reminded of a scene with Chadwick, it's like, oh.
When they did first fly to Wakanda, we've never seen them enter Wakanda at a point where there's a coast, like the ocean meeting Wakanda. And before that, it was always just them flying into the forest. Right. And I think that was very intentional to show how eventually Namor comes into Wakanda when they didn't realize he was coming in. The first time they flew in there, you saw the water, and you saw them pass that invisible gate. Yeah. Into Wakanda, and it's like, okay, there's the water. That's probably where Namor came in,
Right. Yeah, the river border, I believe.
And there's there's a secret water drum code.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. I don't know. I like the creative little stuff they throw in with that. Like, it's almost like back in time, but it's futuristic at the same time kind of stuff, I really like that. Which is what Wakanda is, essentially. I mean, they have a lot of old school culture to it, but it's advanced and technological.
Right.
Dude, so, yeah, we go to, obviously, Shuri is struggling with this, and Ramonda's like, we're going, get away from your technology. We're going to heal. Like, you need to get away from this crap, and you need to actually face this. So she takes her out to the fire, and it's interesting. So Shuri doesn't want to burn the garments because she says, I'm afraid that there'll be nothing left in her heart to burn except for the world and everyone in it, which is a major foreshadowing to her talk with Killmonger later in the movie. Because, yeah, man, she's got some rage that she is bearing with her grief. So she is barely holding it together. And at first, when she said that, I was like, that seems intense. She wants to burn the whole world. But the movie did a pretty good job at kind of fleshing that out, and it ended up making sense by the end of it. But when she said that at first, I was like, geez, Shuri.
Well, by the end of it, it made sense. But at that point, it wasn't the world's fault that T'Challa died.
That's
so
why
I didn't understand why she would want to burn the world. Overall anger that her brother died, of course, but it's not anyone's fault. It was an illness.
Right. Yeah, it was odd. It caught me off guard at first, but... So what do you guys think of Namor's introduction here? Lub, how did you think his first scene was being introduced to the MCU?
I really liked it. I like how he has that kind of Aztec vibe, the culture.
Yeah.
And he gets straight to the point. He's like, you revealed yourselves to the world, and now my people are at risk. So I'm coming here to make you guys have to, which was kind of one of my nitpicks with the movie, was him wanting to kill Riri and just thinking that would solve things because the one scientist that created the drill, like killing her, I mean, I don't think that would change anything.
Yeah, they'd probably still find a way, right?
And they already have their hands on the drill. It's not like they need her anymore. So that was kind of one of the part of the movies I didn't really like as much. And then that kind of created a lot of problems to where, but things escalated to a point of no return after that.
Right. Yeah.
But the overall introduction to him was great.
Yeah, I loved his look, dude. I don't know how those little feet wings work, but they do.
Yes.
Like, it should be so goofy, dude. But even the sound design, like when they start speeding up as he starts flying higher into the air, like, I just never imagined seeing some dude with tiny wings on his ankles looking badass in a movie. But proved me wrong because I loved it.
And he's just covered in vibranium, which was dope.
Yes, I love that. There's no vibranium anywhere outside of Wakanda. Mother, he's covered in it. That was hilarious. Which is interesting. So real quick, JD now obviously this is a whole new origin, so I'm guessing it didn't. But the Atlanteans didn't have vibranium, did they, in the comics?
Oh no,
okay.
Absolutely not. No,
Okay.
that was for the movie.
Okay. I kind of liked it. I thought that was a cool kind of way of tying them together and making them parallels. And there is a massive parallel. Whereas the Wakandans, they discovered vibranium way before the Talocans did, and it helped them unite their tribes and kind of protect themselves from the dangers of colonization or anything like that. So they were able to create this hyper futuristic, amazing city of Wakanda or nation of Wakanda. Whereas the Talocans used vibranium essentially to escape colonization after they had already been weakened by it, after they had already been taken out and they had to flee their homeland by the use of vibranium. So it was a cool parallel they did between the two cultures throughout the whole movie, actually.
Yeah. So Namor's introduction, which I guess we did get a short scene with the whole Spec Ops thing before that, but when his introduction to Wakanda happened, I thought it was super intimidating. The fact that, first of all, he got into Wakanda.
Right.
While they're sitting there on a beach. And he obviously heard them speaking before he ever came out of the water. Because he mentions Shuri's words later in the movie about her burning the world.
Right.
But when they said before that this movie gave Godfather vibes, this is the moment where I felt the most Godfather vibes, just because he was simply, he showed up and started speaking to them, and the score behind him speaking had a very similar score to Don Corleone speaking when he was in his office just talking to people very casually. And it felt very similar to that, because he was super like calm, composed, like kind of quirky, kind of like he was a happy guy. Kind of, it was kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
But he had a good demeanor about him, but it was clear that he was a guy that you should not fuck with. So I did like his introduction. He was very reasonable.
Yeah, like he was stern, he wasn't going to bend, but he was open to like, look, you can help us. Like, I don't want to go to war with you. Like, and he explained his reasoning multiple times. Like, look, this is why I have to do this. Like, I'll bring you to my home. I'll show you everything, and I will explain to you why I'm not going to yield on this. Yeah. But it was composed and pretty, understanding at least.
Yeah. And dude, right before he showed up, you see Queen Ramonda said, I have to tell you something about your brother.
What? Yeah. What the hell? I totally forgot about that.
It's the son, because she knew about the son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She was literally about to tell Shuri about T'Challa.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's what I figured, because what else is she that never paid off later in the movie. But then you found out that
she knew.
T'Challa and Nakia had a son, and Ramonda knew about it.
Right.
Okay. Oh, she said that at the end. Yeah, she did say Ramonda knew. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I never even thought about that line after they said it. Like, she said that, and then I just I didn't remember she even said that. So I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't waiting for any explanation. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
How about the hypnotizing suicide song?
Yeah, let's get into that.
Dude,
that was insane.
That was awesome. That was a really cool way to do that.
It was dark.
Yeah,
so dark, and they had this super scary music, this score that was like pretty terrifying. It felt pretty haunting, and people just started jumping off the damn ship.
Dude, and what did they called it? Sonic hypnosis, I believe, that they were using, and it was basically like sirens from Greek mythology. Dude, I thought that was such a unique and, like you said, like mysterious way to do that, to introduce the Talocanians, Talokites. I don't know what the hell you call. Be easier if I could call them Atlanteans, but that's fine. The Talocans,
Right?
They're supposed to. They just can't say that because of DC, right?
I think,
I think what they're going with.
Maybe they just wanted to separate itself from there too. But it would make
could
sense.
have done it. In the whole woke culture thing, it was a dope way, very creative way to include another culture like that. So I'm totally good with it.
Dude, and I loved it. It was super interesting. Yeah, they had the whole Mesoamerican background to them. I thought they nailed that.
Is Namor a white guy?
It was almost, in the comics, he's pretty white,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he's a white dude with slick back black hair.
I like this
honestly,
better.
I'm like, yeah, it was a really good creative decision to separate them from the Atlanteans and give them that like Aztec or Mayan culture from the Yucatan Peninsula. It was cool.
It came off more grounded somehow, even though we're talking about a people who took this
And
vibranium
realistic.
and turned into a fish. But as far as that goes, it came off way more realistic than Atlantis and Aquaman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which Namor came 2 years before Aquaman, actually. So DC copied copied Marvel on that one.
Okay, on that one.
One of the few exceptions.
Right.
Usually.
Which, by the way, so he's the first mutant in the comics, but we got that freaking line from him. I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead, but he's talking to Shuri and he says, "I'm a mutant." And you heard all the cheers of all the nerds out there echoing across the world after
I
he
look
said
over
that
at my
line.
wife like, he said it. He said it.
He said the thing. He said the thing. Yeah, so that scene was a super cool way to introduce them. And it made me think of something. So that line from Endgame where Okoye says, there's earthquakes happening off in the Atlantic. And they're like, oh, well, what are we going to do? And she goes, that's what we do. We don't do anything. There's earthquakes. So probably being caused from these deep sea drilling that they're doing in the Atlantic to find this vibranium.
Yeah.
So that was probably causing these tremors and earthquakes.
And Captain America said, I finally saw some whales in the Atlantic
harbor.
Ocean or something like that. Yeah. Like, that's a stretch, but, they did ride the backs of whales to battle.
Which was sick, too. I really liked that. I was honestly... Well, if they went great whites and all that, it would just be like Aquaman. So I like that they used the orca. They used the orca, some blue whales, but I thought that was cool.
Great whites are like a Corvette or a Lamborghini, but the whales are like a good transportation type.
To get everybody there. I love the action of them, too. Atuma, I believe was his name.
Yeah.
He jumps out of the ocean and just drills that dude, spears him into the wall. That was an awesome scene. So while we're talking about Namor and all that, we get him explaining to Shuri kind of the origins of the Talocans and the origin of him. And, they left because of smallpox. They came back to bury his mother who wanted to be buried on the surface world. And they came across, the Spanish conquistadors putting their people into slavery, or the people that were still there. And so they wipe him out, which was a pretty powerful scene. But then we get it was one of the few instances where an explanation of a name actually worked for me. So the priest is, he's like, you're a devil, you're the son of Satan, you're the child with no love. And the child with no love in that language is El Niño Sin Namor, or Namor, yeah. So that's how he took his name, Namor. And I don't think that's a part of the comics either, but I thought that was a really cool way to do that again. Like they're finding all these different ways to make it new, unique, and creative, and they all worked. Like they weren't stretching. It just all worked really well.
Yeah, Namor means no love, and he's like, he ties that to he has no love for the surface world, which I was like, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool explanation of the name.
And he ages slow, which could, explain the Fox X-Men movies.
Wait, what? Oh, because he's a mutant?
No, and how each
in-
movie jumps a decade, but they never age.
Right.
Yeah, especially if he was in the Fox X-Men movies. But yeah, he's going to be around for a long time. Yeah. It's good that they let that happen because, dude, in the comics, we're literally reading the same characters that have been around since the 70s. It's still Tony Stark. It's still Peter Parker. Right. It's still, you know what I mean? So at least in the movies, they try to get ahead of that situation.
Yeah.
When he was talking to Shuri, explaining things, I did get Killmonger vibes to where, he was basically looking out for his people, and his motives were similar to Killmonger's in the first Black Panther.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
As a villain.
His motives really showed for me when he showed Shuri Talocan. So as soon as you get underwater and he shows her the city and it seems so serene and peaceful and beautiful and everyone's happy, not to mention that it was like, as an audience, it was super mysterious. Like the vastness that they displayed of the ocean, like it was terrifying, and it was so dark. Like not dark in a sense of tone. It was just dark, just like no light. In Aquaman, right? In Aquaman, it felt like another planet, and there was lights and octopuses doing the drums. And this one, it's like they're deep underwater, and it was like super mysterious, scary, felt so vast, and Talocan felt like a completely separate situation from Atlanta. So when he got down there,
Atlanta, Georgia.
Georgia.
That's what they filmed.
Yeah. As soon as he got down there, it started to show where his motives came from. Like, he really wants to protect this serenity that he lives in.
Right. That he brought to his people, He gave them this life, essentially. He brought the sun to them, which was interesting, too. Kind of cool. I was lighting up the whole thing. But I did want to ask you guys that, actually, which underwater city design that you liked more? Because I agree with what you're saying, but for some reason, when I was watching, it was hard for me to picture that an entire civilization lived there. Like, there wasn't, obviously they went through that whole tunnel, they shot through the whole ocean, but for some reason it felt almost like, I can't really think of the word, but it just felt too personal. Not personal, that's not the right word, but it felt like, comparing it to Aquaman, in Aquaman, I could actually picture an entire civilization living in that place because, like you said, it was so massive. It was like another planet. Whereas this one, it seemed not as sprawling, I guess, to me. So my question would be, we'll start with you, Caleb. What underwater city did you think worked better and that you liked more?
Well, first, just to go off what you said, I do agree with that. But the scene where he declares war and he's in that throne room and there's all the people in front of him, that kind of showed a larger gathering area that they had.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, when he first goes down there, it's this seems like a tiny little town.
Right. It seemed like a village when they were going through it first.
Right.
Okay.
But it wasn't as glamorous as Aquaman, of course, with all the bright lights and stuff. But I think I liked it more. It had more of a realistic ancient tribe, a tribe that's been surviving underwater for the last couple hundreds of years, trying to stick to their own, not get in any trouble. And I love the artwork. Like when you get inside of where Namor is actually staying in his room, his quarters, all the art. He's adding more. He does the artwork. He's the artist.
Like all the ancient designs and symbols and everything down there. Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Okay. What about you, JD? I mean, I guess you kind of just said you liked it
more
than Aquaman, right?
It felt more realistic. It felt more like I could buy more into it. And when I made my drive from Sacramento to Butte, Montana, twice a year for 5 years, there's a lot of dead space. And I'm thinking Talocan is not just the full extension of the underwater civilization. It could be a big city amongst many.
Could just be the capital. Yeah.
It could just be the capital. And I felt like it was much more believable. Dude, underwater is supposed to be dark and vast. You probably do have big cities miles away from each other, hundreds of miles away. So I think I like this more just because I bought into it more.
Okay. And that's a good point, actually. Everything we saw wasn't the entire city, Obviously, we didn't get to see where the sun came out of that pyramid looking thing and see the city around that it was lighting up. So I guess if they wanted to spend more time, then it might have looked more sprawling. That's a good point. And it was more realistic. You had people actually floating without the gravity as they were doing their agriculture, whatever it was they were doing, Whereas
the market.
Yeah, they had a market, but they're all kind of floating and stuff. Whereas in Aquaman, they're all standing, there's gravity down there in the ocean, and they have octopuses playing drums, as you pointed out. So it was more grounded.
And the ocean is more vast. There's 80% of the Earth is just ocean, whereas this 20%. And when I drive 1,000 miles from Sacramento to Montana, that's nothing compared to the vastness of the ocean, and I see just a couple big cities on my way, and most of the drive is nothing at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's it's just so vast. So but they did actually a good job of, they didn't need to portray how many people were down there because this is the city they're focusing on. So they didn't spend so much time down there to where it had to make perfect sense.
And that's a good point, because this isn't Talocan Forever. This is Wakanda Forever. So we don't need to see this entire everything and spend a bunch of time down there introducing us to the entire every aspect of the cities and everything. I probably wouldn't have liked that if they did that. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
They took the Finding Nemo road to the city. That was pretty funny. Just hopped in the freaking riptide tunnel, whatever the hell it was.
With the tortoises.
Yeah, I think I saw a squirt swimming around in there. So before we go to Atlantis,
Talocan.
yeah, I knew something was wrong with that. And so the Talocans, we get introduced to those two main characters they have, and one of them was Namora, which is Namor's cousin from the comics, at least, which it seemed to be that way. And Atuma, like we were talking about. So in the comics, Atuma is like the main challenge to the throne of Atlantis for Namor. Like he's like the guy.
Which one's that? That warrior dude?
He's the big guy with like the hammerhead shark skull.
That
on his
one-on-one
head.
Okoye?
Yeah, who kept calling, warrior, yeah. So he's kind of like the M'Baku to T'Challa kind of thing in Wakanda. Okay. And I think, I'm not going to get into too much predictions right now, but I feel like we could see him and Namora trying to take the throne away from Namor after he yields to Wakanda.
They didn't like what he did.
Getting a conflict out of that, yeah. And maybe Namor has to go to Wakanda and ask for assistance or something. I don't know. But I see some conflict between Atuma and Namor in future projects.
I saw a sexual tension between Shuri and Namor too, so...
there was a little bit under the water when he's showing her the city and he's introducing her to everything. Yeah, a little under the sea, baby. Yeah. So
Wait, I have one more. Well, if we're on the subject of baby, Lupita Nyong'o, good Lord, she was almost like distracting me from the movie. She's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen.
Gorgeous.
Yes,
we hear you.
No, I'm there with you, bro.
Yeah, she's
straight up.
Anyways, carry on.
Sidebar. So before we get into Talocan, they visit Cambridge, Massachusetts, go to MIT to find Riri, and we get the introduction of Riri Williams, Ironheart, which I liked her. I liked her, actually. I'm interested to see what goes on in the future with her. But dude, that scene when they first run into her in the dorm room was honestly like one of like the best give and take humor since Infinity War. Like I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed every line in that scene. The head makeup thing. It's like, I told you it wasn't right. Like, dude, the banter between Okoye and Shuri was just hella funny.
You're not gonna blend in, and she looks at her outfit, but then Okoye is like, "Is it my makeup?" No, that all worked pretty well.
Oh, it looks fine.
I could see you're dressed in a business suit.
And of course, my wife noticed that they said the Fenty Rihanna foundation, which is apparently some really popular one out right now.
Oh, God.
But she says, see how they teach their children to treat their guests?
Yeah. When she goes to use the bathroom, and Okoye just walks out of there like,
oh, my God.
I gave you 6 minutes. Like, I don't know. The whole scene was just so
enjoyable. You brought a spear?
Yeah. Which, to be fair, it's pretty concealable. I don't think that was too out of line.
Yeah, that was sick.
A spear, but that was dope. But it's just so funny.
Her suit,
little girl.
Her suit was badass.
Who?
Okoye, just like the jacket with the red.
Oh, okay.
Dora Milaje, the pattern underneath.
The style there. All right.
Yeah, that was dope.
It was just funny, dude. Danai Gurira. I never know how to pronounce her first name, but yeah, I was gonna say I've been watching her since Walking Dead, but I think it's Danai. Dude, she kills it. Absolutely kills it. She's so good at being intimidating and serious, but she's also great at having those moments of light humor. Like even in Korea, again, she's wearing the wig. She was the one wearing the wig when they go into that club, and there was a little banter about that. So the makeup thing was kind of reminiscent of that one, but I absolutely loved that scene.
The one scene with her and M'Baku when he calls her a bald-headed demon.
Yeah.
So like the opening scene of this movie is the Chadwick tribute, and it had everyone obviously down. And this movie was honestly like I was really pleasantly surprised by the comedy, and it was well used, well timed. I just love that part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. It's back to normal MCU when they don't force humor like Thor, and all this stuff. Yeah. It's like these people would be saying this stuff, and it's just funny. It's not like they're forcing this. It's
not at all.
Very refreshing.
It's almost dry humor they're using at a lot of the points too.
Yeah.
Like it's not slapstick. It's not some out of the. It's just it was really well done humor.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Even M'Baku. After Nakia saves the day, they come over and he goes, "Oh, the spy saves the day a second time." Queen Ramonda will reward her with a lifetime banishment, I'm sure. And they all start cracking up because they just punished Okoye. Like, there's just, it wasn't often, but every time they would drop a little throwaway line, the humor really worked. All right, so, yeah.
Riri, her introduction, I absolutely loved, dude. Yeah. And like later, it might not have worked out so well with her like Power Ranger suit. But anyway, when you get into Riri,
I didn't like that either.
Tell me it didn't feel like Peter Parker when Tony Stark went to recruit him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt like the same exact thing, even to the point where they're like, we're going to bring you to Wakanda. And she's like, no, I got a differential equations class to go to in 15 minutes. Just like Peter said, I can't go to Germany. I got homework. Like, it was the same thing, dude. What else? There was...
I liked how she
did a lot of movie...
I like how she was working out the equations in her head as she was flying through the air.
Oh, yeah. She's smart. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she, just like Peter, she did a lot of references to movies when Namor someone offered her some kind of something to wear to Talocan. She was like doing these movie references. She's like, that's some super villain shit. Like, just like Princess Leia and some other movie. And then
or the girl from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, she goes, just like that white chick.
The white lady from
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said it in a really like humorous way. So it's total Peter Parker vibes from
I didn't catch the Leia line. Huh.
Yeah, that was the first thing she said when someone offered her like some garments to wear.
Okay. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed her, and the actress who portrayed her, I thought she did a great job. But while we're talking about her, I think it's pretty apparent. How do we feel about that final suit of Ironheart? Because I didn't like it.
All right.
Okay.
Are you guys in tune with the whole Pokemon situation or no? Because she looked just like the evolution of, I forgot his name, but it's this Pokemon named Scizor. And she looks just like Scizor.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, it's Skyther. Skyther is the...
Oh, yeah, the green guy with the claws. Right?
Yeah. And when he evolves into Scizor or whatever, it's like, dude, you look like a Power Ranger mixed with Scizor. So I wasn't a fan, to be honest.
It's her Mach 1 or Mach 2.
Mach 2.
To let her build up. They're always a little bulky to start.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just the bulk wasn't even the issue for me. It was the helmet. It was like, it looked like Transformers meets Power Rangers kind of deal. But apparently it was pretty close to some of her suits in the comics. So a lot of people were using that as a defense. I liked her Mach 1 suit better, but
same. I loved when Shuri walked into that thing and she was looking at the blueprints of the arc reactor situation.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you building here? Is this Stark Tech?
Yeah.
And it was so cool to hear Shuri talk about Stark Tech because those are the two technological geniuses of the MCU.
Right.
And we never got that. I would have loved to see them interact.
That would have been awesome.
Before Endgame or Endgame. But just hearing her mention Stark Tech was cool.
Mm-hmm. No, that was cool. So obviously, the mission doesn't go so hot, and Riri and Shuri get taken. So we get Okoye returning, and Queen Ramonda, didn't even want Shuri going in the first place. And so we get this scene of Okoye reporting, saying they came back on the back of whales, like they have superhuman strength, all this stuff. She's reporting about these Talocan people. And Queen Ramonda doesn't care. Like, Okoye's like, please let me go rescue her. Like, please, because the guilt is just driving her into the ground with it. And this scene, dude, this honestly, again, I know I've already said this a few times with this movie, but this was one of the best performances of any MCU scene. Between Angela Bassett and Danai, the emotion going back and forth, and Danai begging her, like calling her mother and begging her to not do this. And even the Wakandans are like, dude, she raised a spear against her own husband in the defense of Wakanda, and that just pissed Queen Ramonda off even more. But dude, the acting performances of those two women in that scene was absolutely incredible.
They really, Okoye really expressed how insane the Talocans are. They're like, they got superhuman strength, and they rode on the back of freaking whales to come into battle. And that should be wild. We have not seen them in the MCU yet.
Right.
And in the world of the MCU, it's an insane species or civilization to meet. So, like, they should be freaked out.
Right.
But just going back to Okoye, like, she's not royalty, she's not a member of the royal family, but she's lost just as much as everyone else. So that's why you really feel for her in this scene. Like, she was there when Black Panther got snapped. She's the first, like, where was
my king, and he oh, God.
Yeah, so, like, Ramonda is, like, banishing her, but, like, she's right there with her and Shuri the whole time, and she feels the loss just as much as they do.
Right. Yeah. It was a tough look. Like, obviously she's not thinking sensibly at this point. Queen Ramonda, that is. But, yeah, I mean, you just feel for Okoye so much in that instance. And we get another great sacrifice speech coming days off of the Andor episode, where we get the Luthen speech about everything he's sacrificed, and we get Queen Ramonda's version of that, which wasn't as good as Luthen's, but it was still very, very good. Did you have anything else on the bridge?
Yeah, well, I mean, just a freaking dope action scene, dude. Like, Okoye really shined. And then you got the introduction of these weird water grenades, which was freaking badass.
I like them.
Oh, and yeah, and it's a car chase scene, right? They just got out of the garage there, which, by the way, Shuri was dope because she wanted to split up. And Okoye is like, absolutely not. But then she just puts that remote piloting system in the car, and then hops out and then takes off on the bike.
The AI.
So Shuri's dope. And then as Riri is climbing up into the atmosphere, just like Tony Stark in Iron Man 1, trying to reach the limits of her suit to destroy the drone, which is dope. But the total Winter Soldier parallel, the car chase scene is coming to its end, just like Nick Fury running away from the cops, and you think he's fine, but all of a sudden an explosive device rips his car apart or flips it over, and the car chase scene is over. And they thought they escaped. Boom, their car's flipped over, and now they got to face this threat. Just like Nick Fury, he just got away from the cops, and all of a sudden Winter Soldier comes down, throws that explosive under his car.
Yeah.
Same thing. I thought that was freaking dope. And then Okoye and the fight with Atuma was awesome. Awesome, dude.
So cool.
So sick. With everybody, not even just Atuma, but there was no music, no score, and there was just the action spoke for itself. And they're just having this badass fight. Like, Atuma does this crazy thing where he jabs her spear into the ground and pulls her into it in such a savage way.
Oh my God.
Dude, so sick. Before that, throws her spear to her. He likes a challenge, just like Vader in fighting Reva in the Obi-Wan show. Like, such a sick action scene, dude. Before, of course, they capture Shuri, kind of. But so dope. I loved that scene.
Dude, just the quick, 2-second scene of her being pushed back as she's sliding, and she jabs the spear into the ground to slow herself down. Like, just that. Like, there's just so many cool, unique, awesome little shots in that fight scene.
Yes.
I think it was my favorite fight action scene of the movie. Just how Okoye was stuck the spear into the ground to support herself as she's going back. It was like vibranium on vibranium.
It was so dope. Yeah, I would have to go back and watch again. But it's at least one of the top fights. Yeah, so it was just a crazy sequence. And again, obviously, that takes Shuri and Riri down to Talocan as Okoye goes home empty-handed.
Yeah, so I loved, like I said before in this episode, it showed why he wants to protect his world, and that was dope. But he really gave me Magneto vibes because he was super kind and genuine, like Magneto, but you saw that he would go at any length to protect his people, no matter how violent that took him, no matter what he had to do. So I loved the similarities to Magneto there because we love Magneto. He's a good guy, but he will freaking kill everybody if it means protecting his people.
Right.
So, and then he offers her, like, I'm not going to kill the scientist. We're going to keep her here. And if you agree to ally with Talocan against the surface world, then we're going to release Riri back to you. And if you don't agree to ally with us, then we're going to kill her and we're going to go to war. And you cannot win a war with Talocan. which was dope. And that's straight out of the comics in the Jonathan Hickman run, where Black Panther and Namor are discussing this war with each other. Mm-hmm. And they were both like, Namor's like, you can't win a war with Atlantis. And Black Panther's like, I think you're underestimating the power of Wakanda. And it's similar to that. So it's good character development for both of them. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, didn't he say, like, we have more soldiers than you have blades of grass in this nation? It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, yikes. So the next thing we hop into is the attack on Wakanda. So I didn't get this, okay? You know that war has started. Nakia, Queen Ramonda went and got Nakia. Nakia came back. She infiltrated Talocan. She saved them. She killed a couple of Talocan as Shuri is trying to save her. She's like, I just hit her with a sonic blast. It's fatal at this range. Like, she's dead. And she's like, you're going to start a war. And obviously that's exactly what's happening. So you know that this incredibly powerful nation that you're afraid to fight, really, because you've never fought anybody with vibranium before, and they have way more people than you. You know they're coming to attack you. Why do you still have fishermen out on boats and the market is open and like you should be on lockdown? Like, and I know that they put some people, they put more guards at the border or whatever the case was they were doing, but like I feel like they should have been in lockdown. You just committed an act of open war against Talocan and you just got old people swimming and fishing from boat. I don't know. I felt like they should have locked down way more.
Yeah. They should have locked it down, and they did increase their security because I thought was a really cool shot was the ships flying towards the border, and then the camera panned out, and then eventually it passed that invisible wall, and the ships panned out, and all of a sudden, or the ships came into formation, and the camera went further than that, and all of a sudden you couldn't see the ships anymore, obviously representing the invisible wall, which is cool. So they had their guard up. But you're right. They should have locked things down, especially after Ramonda herself was told that they have an army. They have people. They have more people than Wakanda has blades of grass. Right. Dude, you should be a little more scared than that.
Yeah, and they're underwater. The ships being in the air as your defense, like they're going to be swimming towards you guys. That's the first time you saw Namor. He came out of the water. I don't know. I was just like, I don't think you guys really prepared enough for that one.
I love Namor's line when somebody asked him after Shuri got rescued from Nakia and she left, and they're like, what is going to stop them from coming to Talocan? Namor's like, I will. And the ominous score hits, and then he goes down on his throne and all that stuff.
The Megalodon throne. Shit. That was so sick. Dude, the scene was incredible, though. The whole action sequence in Wakanda, they flood Wakanda, essentially. They're throwing all these water grenades and stuff. But it was just an incredible scene. The design for Namor, and again, his flying, it just shouldn't work. And it works so well, how he's jumping back and forth. And he's taking out these ships, and he's going into the ocean. He's backflipping straight out of it, and he's just slicing through them like nothing, back and forth. And it was such a display of dominance by him. And such a cool action scene. And we even got the line from M'Baku, actually, where he made the mention of, this is a god. They call him Kukulkan or whatever. Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god. And they're like, he's as strong as the Hulk is the line that was said across there, which A, that's awesome that they're giving him that power thing, but B, that's awesome that they're referring to the Hulk now. Like everything is so mainstream in the world that the Wakandans are referring to the Hulk for a strength of, little do they know that the Hulk's strength has substantially dropped since She-Hulk and Ragnarok, but still as strong as the Hulk.
When he shows up and M'Baku's spear breaks over his back, and then just one shot to the chest shatters his chest. Flies back.
Such a cool scene.
So dope. And they did a good job at showing how formidable the Talocan people are. Mm-hmm. But Namor's on a different level. And as soon as they showed him display his power, like that was totally appropriate. You don't want him to be as powerful as the Talocan people. He is fucking Namor, dude. And he came out like Black Adam and started shoving ships down.
The 360 spin on the helicopter.
Dude. And the wings, his stupid feet wings, which I was like, I kind of hope they don't bring that into the movies. But it worked out because he's so agile in the air. Like he's juking shit out and he's going from side to side. He's not just flying one way like an Iron Man. And the display of power there was very satisfying because this is Namor. It's not just another citizen here with Talocan.
Yeah. Dude, I gotta say, I really, really love the use of slow-mo in this. It's done differently than Black Adam and about a 20th of the amount, but it really worked for me. Like Shuri launching from the car earlier, obviously, and we're going full speed. She launches in the car. We go to slow-mo as she deploys the shield just in time before hitting the ground. And a lot of the Talocan action scenes during this invasion, the way they use the slow-mo, I thought it was used perfectly. Like that, if you're going to use slow-mo in action sequences, that's the way I want it to happen because it felt like it worked. Like the way they used it really displayed the tenacity, I guess, and the power and speed of everything that was going on, but in a way that it was really cool. It was really good VFX, which was refreshing. Like it looked really good.
I think
they did it just enough.
They did it too many
to where
times.
It was not excessive. It happened in like what?
Did you say
4 scenes?
Too many times?
Too many times. Yeah, they
really
went to the slow-mo too
hot
many
take.
times.
Okay.
There was like.
Did you
4
like
or
Black
5.
Adams?
No, I didn't like Black Adams. That's the thing. No, because
I thought they did it just enough.
They kept going back to it.
The attack on Wakanda right there. There was probably
was like
4 or 5
4.
shots of it. Yeah, but I don't know. I liked it, but
It
that's
worked,
interesting.
the
So
first-
it was a little too much for you.
Yeah.
Well, I hate you.
I like how they tried the hypnosis thing on Wakanda. And people, I guess 1 or 2 people might have dropped into the water.
No, they got the
probably just
meds.
swam and were safe.
Yeah.
But then the freaking Dora Milaje, whoever, just tossed a grenade at a group of like 6 to 8 people and just blasted them. That was sick.
That was dope. No, yeah, they got the med crew who were about to go into the pilot off. I forgot what they called them. I'm pretty sure they just called them the medical squad. But all of them, yeah, they all just jumped straight into the ocean. And obviously, that ending, dude, Namor goes up to the throne room, super, super intimidating, breaks through with the water bombs, and freaking, I didn't think Queen Ramonda was going to die in this movie. I really didn't.
Me neither.
And that was a Aunt May scene with Peter kind of deal as Shuri runs in and seeing this, and M'Baku is holding her back. Like, my goodness, I didn't think we needed more emotion in this movie, but it was really, really well done.
And it was fuck Namor
For sure. And
after that.
dude, right? And bro, she died saving Riri.
Right.
I think she would have survived, but she chose Riri
She
instead.
swam down to get her. Yep. Yeah, and obviously her death was kind of the catalyst to Shuri finally accepting the mantle of the Black Panther. You know, that led in her talk with M'Baku later, but like that was the catalyst for that.
Which that was another gripe I heard from other sources that they're like, why would Riri become Black Panther? You got M'Baku, who's
Shuri.
I don't know, and then you got Okoye, and then Okoye is actually a solid like runner-up for the mantle, dude. Could you imagine if she, with her battle skills, if she took the Black Panther mantle, it'd be game over.
Absolutely savage.
But as far as story goes, I loved that Shuri took the mantle. This is her family, her bloodline. Her brother just died. She has so much emotional connection to the situation. So I think this was my 100% favorite person to take up that Black Panther mantle.
Yeah, dude. I thought it worked great, and I thought the way it led to it all was really cool. You know, she's recreating the heart-shaped herb with the bracelet that Namor gives her, you know, not really thinking anything of it, which was a pretty cool little creative way to do it. But she gets inspired also by the talk from M'Baku, and, you know, I think one of the lines he said was, only the most broken people can be great leaders. And it was such a good line, like, it's just so true. Like, adversity is so essential if you're going to be a leader. Like, if you haven't been through crap, if you haven't dealt with tragedy and adversity, you can't empathize with others, at least as well. Like, you can't empathize with those who struggle and who are going through it and who need help. Like, you don't know how it is. So being broken, being somebody who has gone through all of that stuff is going to turn you into such a better leader because you can empathize with the people and really make decisions that is best for those who are struggling. And so that was a super cool line by M'Baku. That I love the way they did this whole thing with the new Black Panther.
Same. I liked how earlier in the movie, obviously Shuri was in a struggle and she wanted to create this herb to save her brother. It didn't work out. But after the United Nations scene, Ramonda comes back into Shuri's lab and she's like, have you made any progress with synthesizing the herb? But she didn't care about making a new Black Panther.
Right.
She just wanted to save her brother.
Right. That was cool. Lub, did you know Michael B. Jordan was going to be in this movie?
Not at all. That blew me away.
Okay. How'd you like that little surprise?
I honestly loved it because I didn't want a CGI Chadwick Boseman or like a voiceover or anything like that. And it does make sense because he says, you know, you didn't think the ancestral plane was real just like I did. You took this herb for power and vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a different location. She didn't get to go to like the Lion King safari
ancestral
place.
plane thing there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved how she comes out of the water and she's completely dry. I don't know how they pulled that off, but that was sick. She's swimming up from where her mom died and she pops out and she's completely dry.
That's where her mind was truly connected to. When she took the heart-shaped herb, her mind was on Namor. So, of course, she started underwater.
Right.
And then, of course, she met up with Killmonger, which I did not expect. I thought she would see her brother, her mom, or Bast. In the comics, she saw Bast, the Panther God. And
right.
But when MBJ, Michael B. Jordan, says, you literally chose me in your mind. I took this herb to avenge my ancestors. And that's exactly what Shuri is taking this herb to do. Mm-hmm. So it made sense.
Yeah. And, you know, he's got the line about her father. He's like, your father would have killed her. He would have handed over the scientist, you know. He killed his own brother to protect Wakanda. He would have done anything. And then he says, you know, T'Challa was weak. He let the guy who killed his father live. Like, he was too noble. He was too noble of a king. You know, who are you going to be? And it was so cool because we kind of get a mixture of it. Shuri's representing the Black Panther thing, obviously. She's got the mantle on. She's representing T'Challa, but she's got her war paint on the mask itself, which is the war paint she wore in Black Panther 1 when she goes out to fight Killmonger. But she's also got the hints of gold going throughout the whole outfit, which represents Killmonger. So she's kind of suiting up as the Black Panther as all three. Part Shuri, part T'Challa, part Killmonger. Dude. And I wasn't super crazy about the look of the suit, but I thought the way they did that was really cool.
Did she grab his helmet? Yeah. Because there was the two Black Panther helmets sitting right there, and then the gold one pops up behind them, and she grabs that one. So was that his?
I think it was a variation. I don't know if that was... Because Killmonger's, remember, his came out of a necklace. So when she handed all that stuff, it was just necklaces, nanotech that came out of it. So I think that was something she had made or somebody had made. I don't know.
And he says, you going to be noble like your brother or take care of business like me?
It is pretty dope.
Yeah.
Classical Michael B. Jordan line there. Right. So something else about the whole thing with Killmonger and her trip to the ancestral plane, she comes out of it pissed. Like, she's absolutely pissed and heartbroken that that's who she saw. You know, she goes, they didn't visit me. They didn't come to visit me. You know, her mom didn't show up. T'Challa wasn't there. Her dad wasn't there. Like, she came to Killmonger, and she's already so vulnerable because, like she said, she didn't believe in the ancestral plane. Like, she didn't think it actually existed. And she goes there. She does this thing that she didn't want to do. And again, she's just super vulnerable. And then she gets, how she takes it, rejected. She thinks it didn't work. She thinks it didn't accept her, and she got to see Killmonger instead of her family. So she's just absolutely heated. And again, yet another great performance by Letitia Wright there with her emotion and her frustration with that.
For sure. She brings out the bracelet that Namor gave her that was grown from vibranium-rich soil. Mm-hmm. So she goes right to work. And she even uploads the DNA of T'Challa, her brother. Mm-hmm. And just really starts trying to make this, this heart-shaped herb because she knows Wakanda needs the Black Panther. So a really cool scene with a good little song, good little score with just a nice scientist situation with her and Riri going at it in the lab, creating this herb. And they even discuss the fact that Namor absorbs oxygen through diffusion like a jellyfish.
Yeah, that was cool.
Right, so cool. And while they're making the herb, they figure out how to defeat Namor. And it was just a really fun scene to watch. A very hopeful scene in the midst of a lot of darkness.
Yeah.
So they create the evaporation chamber, the dehydration situation with the ship. And she's like, Riri, you're going to help develop this for me. Which, again, I think gives another opportunity for why Riri is in this show in the first place. It's not just another character to be another Iron Man. Like, she has a purpose in this show, and she's going to help develop this thing to defeat Namor.
Totally. Dude, I really liked when they're doing that and they're working together, and Riri's like, where did you learn all this? And Shuri says, my brother. My brother taught me all this, which obviously very touching. But we never got to see T'Challa being the scientific genius that he is in the comics. Like, he's one of the smartest men in the world, obviously, in the comics. And like, we never really saw the technological and scientific side of T'Challa in the MCU. So I thought that was pretty cool, giving that nod to him.
For sure. Speaking of Shuri, dude, she was literally thrown into the lead role. Like, obviously, this movie was written with Chadwick Boseman as the lead role as T'Challa.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, even like 1 year ago, maybe, like, Letitia Wright had no idea she was going to be the lead role in this movie. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, she freaking killed it.
Yes.
I'm telling you, like, I bought into her acting so well. Like, she portrayed the pain, but just the right amount of glimmer of hope. Like, throughout this movie, when I left this movie thinking about the movie, I thought of her constantly and how she carried this movie. She did such a great job taking that role and just killing it. So,
dude,
it almost made the movie, dude. Without her and her acting there, like, this movie would not be as good as it was.
No, they needed her. And again, she hit every facet of a performance. The emotion, the grief, the anger, the heartbreak, all of that was so believable. But she also had the levity, the humor here and there too throughout it, and funny lines here and there. She just touched on everything, and she did it so well. And they just did such a great job at calling that audible for the storyline of this movie and writing it to fit for her. Like, I can't get over how well it worked.
Yeah, huge props to the writers and Ryan Coogler and Letitia Wright, because, wow.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, she's obviously the main, and I don't see her, not that she didn't deserve it, but I just don't see the Academy giving a Black Panther movie a nomination for Best Actress. But I think she deserves at least a nomination. But I think, while we're talking about that, I think Angela Bassett and Danai Gurira both deserve nominations for Best Supporting Actress, because they...
Totally.
It's just, dude, that's one of the reasons why I like this more than the first one too, was because there was a more wide range of just incredible acting performances. Not that they lacked of good acting in the first one, but this one was just on another level. Just all the emotions they conveyed throughout.
It's like this movie came out and relied on the supporting characters.
Yes.
And they obviously were pushed into the lead role, but it's like, it couldn't have been done better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and shout to Letitia Wright too. She got a ton of crap a couple years ago throughout the whole COVID thing, and people were calling for her to be removed from the franchise and all that bull crap. So I'm really happy to see her succeed with this.
Me too.
Before we jump into the final battle there, we get Val being thrown back into the movie. So she was last seen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, recruiting U.S. agent. I don't remember if that came out first or Black Widow. No, Black Widow came out after that. So end credit scene of Black Widow, she recruits Yelena. But we get her first appearance here in an actual movie as a role, and we find out that she was married to Everett Ross back in the day, which I don't know if that's comic accurate. I can't imagine it is, because I'm pretty sure she's Madam Hydra in the comics. There's no way she'd be married to Everett Ross. But that was an interesting little thing there. For the most part, it seems a bit unnecessary. I mean, the movie could have been done without Val and Everett Ross, but I love Everett Ross, dude. I love Martin Freeman's character here. He's kind of like Agent Wu from Ant-Man. Like, he's a small side character with some humor thrown in. Like, he doesn't have a major implication, but I enjoy every scene he's in. Like, I really like the character. The whole colonizer bit is hilarious. Let's go see my favorite colonizer. It's just, I love the little relationship he has with the Wakandans, and he's vouching for them to the government. He's like, these are good people. Like, they saved my life when they didn't have to. The Wakandans are good people. I don't feel good about doing all this. So it was unnecessary. Sure, it could be argued, but I really enjoyed that aspect of the film too.
I love Everett Ross, and the actor, whatever his name is, he did Bilbo Baggins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Martin Freeman. Mm-hmm. I love him, and he ties the MCU together. Without him, it's not as tied to the MCU as a whole, which is always fun to see.
Yeah.
Not completely necessary for the movie, but as far as forcing a character into a movie, it's totally fine. I'm good with that. And the fact that he's married to this DeFonte, who's now the director of
the CIA.
Shield?
CIA.
CIA, yeah, for sure. I feel like that's more of a Thunderbolts setup.
Yes.
Which is fine. It's not like it took half an hour of screen time. So it's all good.
Yeah.
I found it funny that she is in his house and she turns on the TV to show that Ramonda died. Like, I don't understand how characters in so many movies turn on the TV at the perfect time of a news article.
Yeah.
But
good thing you walked in this moment. Like, so I can turn this on for you.
And apparently the surface world is considering attacking Wakanda in more major ways than have been considered in the past. So that's another tie-in that will, I guarantee, will be something big in the future.
Totally. Well, and he gets arrested by her, and the Wakandans break him out and free him in the Midnight Angel suit with the Koye, which is pretty funny. But I think they're going to bring him back, and he's going to be kind of an ambassador for Wakanda. He's going to be helping, not an ambassador maybe, but he's going to be like the lesser cool white wolf of Wakanda. They're going to bring him in, and I think he's going to definitely play a large role moving forward. Thunderbolts, I think we definitely will see him, but I'm curious to see how they use him. But it's cool seeing him get brought in by the Wakandans and accepted, and I don't know.
Yeah. So when Shuri finally shows up as the Black Panther, and she drops in on the discussion with M'Baku and his people, how did you feel about it?
It was cool because M'Baku comes up to her and they kind of do this little arm wrestle thing, almost like a test to see if she actually has the strength.
Weird.
It was a little odd, obviously, to see, whatever. But I thought M'Baku accepting her and everybody's excitement to this return of their savior, their protector. They have this mantle that has been empty, and they have this huge hole, and it's being replaced as they're going into this massively uncertain war against the Talocans. And it was just such a cool, motivation. I'm not thinking of the right word. Whatever, I'm not going to think of it. It was just such a cool, motivating event to happen. So I thought it was pretty cool. It kind of got me hyped up for them too. Like, yeah, let's go to war with the Black Panther here.
I loved the score when she starts looking at the Black Panther mask.
Yeah.
And it does this crazy techno / I'm not going to try to explain it, but the score was so freaking badass.
Dude.
When she was looking at the mask, and then all of a sudden she drops out from the ship to face M'Baku. I loved the music behind it, dude. It amped me up so much.
Avoided the classic superhero landing too. She just landed on 2 feet instead of doing the trope there, which I appreciated.
Yeah. Dude, it was so sick. And I loved the fact that she was like, When M'Baku was saying that she didn't want, or that her mother wouldn't want her to go kill Namor, and she was like, Namor drowned her right in front of me. And he was talking about her goals, or I mean, not her goals, but her wishes for her. And she was like, her goals don't matter anymore. Her hopes don't matter. Her hopes don't exist anymore. She's dead. What matters right now is what I want. And what I want is Namor dead. Dude. And she points at him and she's like, you're going to help me. And what I like, the commentary there is so dope in general. But I love the fact that they didn't vilify her for wanting to go murder somebody. Like they just let her, like they realized that she wants to go kill this man that who just killed her mother and who went to war with Wakanda, and they didn't spend a bunch of screen time with morality. Like they just let it be. Like she's extremely angry at the situation, and it was refreshing not to have them sit there and vilify her for scenes.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, cool, let's do it. We got your back. If that's what you choose, then fine. So it is. Let's do it. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad we didn't spend time with that because that's another classic trope that goes along with this whole thing. And then the hero has to be convinced slowly, no, that's not right. Which obviously down the road she ends up changing, but they did it in a good way. So I like that they kept that vengeance.
Such a good way.
And you mentioned the score of her coming in, and honestly, like that was one of the best aspects of this movie for me was the score as a whole. Every note that they hit for each specific time that it needed something is just when they're flying into Wakanda, like I said, the drums, the chanting during action, intense scenes, it just sets the mood so well. It's so uniquely Wakanda. It's, anytime they play any type of score from this and any other project, they're referring to Wakanda. And it was one of the best scores in an MCU movie, in my opinion. It just hits every note when it needs to.
Totally, bro. And all right, remind me, is this movie titled Black Panther Wakanda Forever, or is the movie titled just Wakanda Forever?
It's Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think just a lot of the promos just started dropping the Black Panther, but the official title is Black Panther. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say Wakanda Forever seems more appropriate because there was no Black Panther until the third act.
Right.
And I feel like it made more sense to just call it Wakanda Forever. It was much more about Wakanda than it was Black Panther. And she didn't show up until the final battle. So, but whatever. So if it was Black Panther 2, that's fine too. I was just making that point.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, skip forward really quick before I forget to the final battle with Namor and Shuri. So he gets dehydrated and everything. He's sweating. He's dropping to the ground and all that. What did you think about the Imperious Rex line he dropped there? Because that felt super forced to me. But I don't know. What did you think?
Bro, as I'm sitting here reading comics for years, every single time he says Imperious Rex, it is cringy as fuck. And like... He says it so much in the comics. I'm like, dude, why are you saying that? Shut up, dude. It'd be so much better if you just didn't say that and just started fighting. So when he said it in the movie, thank God it was only one single time he said it, Imperious Rex. But I didn't hate it because I thought it was going to happen 5 times in the movie. I still, to this point, don't know what it means.
Well, yeah, what does it mean?
I don't know what apparently it means. Like, let's go to battle or some shit.
He says it before he goes off in the comics. Like, he says it right before doing some crazy thing. But he said it there as he's, like, dehydrating and dying. It was like, that felt like you just threw that in there so he could say the catchphrase.
Yeah.
No,
it's like the whole...
Yeah.
You got to throw Avengers Assemble into an Avengers movie or something. I don't know. I've always hated it. I didn't need it in the movie. But as far as forcing it into a movie, I didn't hate it. Okay. But I mean, I'm not going to say I liked it. But whatever.
Yeah. I was just curious because, I know it's a big comic thing you always said. But I was like, that just felt like you just did it to do it. But all right. Super cool third action scene though. Again, Black Panther, their third act was pretty weak. The final battle, the face-off between Killmonger and T'Challa, it was just not that good, in my opinion. It just lacked in a lot of ways. Was a lot of not great CGI going on, and there wasn't a lot of emotion. There wasn't really any emotion. Whereas this one hit way more for me. I thought that battle on their ship as they're climbing up, and you get the Jabari tribe holding the rope for the Dora Milaje as they jump down the sides, and you get Shuri backflipping down the sides and scaling across the walls. Like, I loved this action set piece. I feel like I know the answer, but did you like this one more than the first movie?
Yeah, no, absolutely more than the first movie. Yeah, it was an epic conclusion. It was like the final battle that you kind of needed. Mm-hmm. Now, when he says he has more soldiers than Wakanda has blades of grass, I felt like it was a very small battle.
Yes.
Well, like they each had about, maybe Wakanda had 100 people, maybe Talocan had a couple hundred people. I don't know. I didn't care, though. I mean, the build up to that was fantastic, and I did love it. I don't love the Dora Milaje's little Iron Man suits, which you said it was a part of the comics, which I wasn't aware of. But at the same time, I'm like, we don't need, like, Shuri is a technological genius. Of course, she could build something at least close to the Iron Man suit, but I don't. The Iron Man suit is so special. Tony Stark is so special, and I don't need a bunch of Dora Milaje like running around in Power Ranger suits doing the same thing Iron Man does. So that's fine, but it did not take me out of the movie. And she explained it well. I mean, they need to amp their power up to face these Talocan people, so it was necessary for sure.
But I agree with Okoye. Those things are ugly as hell. Like, Okoye was like, she walks in at one point, she goes, "Is it just me, or does this get uglier and uglier every time I come back into here?" It's like, yeah, it looks like a hybrid between Abe from Hellboy and the Predator. And they just mashed the two into one suit. Like, yeah, I did not like the look at all. The logic makes sense. And the look of it, meh.
It does. But Shuri created that before she knew Talocan was in existence.
Yeah.
So that was weird. I would rather have her
done that to combat it.
Yeah, in reaction to her realization of Talocan.
Yeah.
So, but it's easy to let that go.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I wish they made their ship like they would electrocute the Talocans as they were climbing up or something, while everyone else, all the Wakandans, were wearing rubber boots or something. They did smart stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had the fake vibranium machine and then the sonic weaponry trap situation. So they did some smart stuff. I was like, dude, but just electrify the ship. That'd be dope.
Would have been perfect, actually. Altogether, though, it was a unique and creative kind of final set piece there. So I did really enjoy it. It wasn't your classic same power dudes just beat the crap out of each other till the very end. Somehow somebody wins. Like, there was strategy throughout the entire third act. So definitely appreciated that. I had another nitpick with this. So we get to the end of the fight, and Shuri's about to kill Namor, and she's either visited or she just has a mental remembrance of Ramonda and the ancestral plane, and she, spares his life eventually. But then she drops the line where she says, "Vengeance has, taken control of you or of us. I will not let vengeance take control anymore." It was basically word for word what T'Challa said to Zemo in Civil War.
Yeah.
Which, okay, that's a cool callback, a cool nod. What are the odds that she said the exact same thing he said? She wasn't there, unless T'Challa went home and was like, "And then I told him." How did that work out? So at first it was like, "Oh, wait, how the hell is she saying that? How would she know to say that?"
That's actually a good point. I liked it, actually, until you said that. Makes a lot of sense, because it was word for word, and I noticed that from the very beginning.
Yeah. No, my same initial reaction. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Wait a second. How?
That's awesome. Yeah. One more small nitpick. Namor desperately needed moisture or water. Mm-hmm. And there was a moment when Shuri on the desert was looking for him, and he didn't know where he was, and then all of a sudden he attacked her. Yeah. You'd think as a survival tactic he would just go jump into the water real quick. Instead, I don't know, he just had some time to jump into the water, which was crucial to his
they were on a beach.
His potential success.
Yeah. Or wait. Did she make it to the desert? Now I'm starting to think, because she said we got to get to the desert, but he could have flown back to the ocean. Yeah, they weren't on the edge of the water, but yeah, he could have just flown back to the water real quick. They were hundreds of feet away or something. Yeah. Yeah.
He could have dipped his toes into the water. At the same time, I thought it was freaking dope when she was getting dehydrated, or Namor was getting dehydrated, and he was breaking the ship apart.
Yeah.
And she was like, fuck it. Open the door, and she just goes and attacks him, dude. I was like, yes, that's a freaking leader right there, because he's going to either break the ship and go into the water, or you're going to stop him from breaking the ship. So that's where the fight starts. That was sick.
Yeah, dude, just, again, overall, just super satisfying for a final fight. And just, I'm not used to that with the MCU.
And the fight was sick, dude. It was pretty brutal. It reminded me of Tobey Maguire versus Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1, where it was just like, I mean, just brutal.
Yeah.
She cuts his freaking ankle wings off.
Oh, that's right.
And then, and they're fighting, and she's absorbing some blows. It looks like she's getting real hurt. But eventually she claws his back, throws the claws in there and starts scraping him up, and then all of a sudden releases all that kinetic energy and causes a big explosion. I thought that was so dope. And then he throws a spear into her. You know, she breaks the spear and pulls it through her and jumps in front of Namor, and then all of a sudden releases the ship's engine, or she turns on the ship's engines, blasting him with, you know, burning exhaust. Dude, it was a pretty savage fight.
Dude, the more you're describing it now, I forgot about a lot of the details throughout that fight. And now I'm liking it even more as I'm reminded of that stuff. Yeah, it was brutal. Like, I totally forgot she got impaled like that. Like, man, again, just super satisfying.
And then finally gets finally sees her mom in the vision, which I kind of expected originally. And, you know,
right.
Instead of killing Namor, you know, she does the more reasonable thing and says, we're going to keep your secret. Like, we can help each other. We could exist in this world together. Mm-hmm. Just yield to me. And I don't have to kill you right now. So that leads to the ending of the movie, which is a solid way. You know, she was so vengeful before that moment. And then seeing her mom in her little vision, you know, it all made sense, because usually it's always the hero is about to kill the villain, and it just wasn't the same status quo. There was actually good reasoning behind her not killing him right there.
Yeah. Well, she just had a great arc, dude. This was one of the better arcs of a character throughout a couple of movies. Obviously, Peter Parker, he had a pretty good arc from the start to the end of No Way Home there. A lot of character development. But Shuri's arc in this movie was great.
For sure.
I thought it was a little goofy when they're both standing on the ship, as, you know, Namor goes up there and he tells his people to stop, the fight is over. And they're both kind of standing on the ship, and Shuri's yelling Wakanda Forever as both of them are standing side by side yelling to their people who are fighting, which I guess it's kind of cool, but I don't know, it came off a little goofy to me.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're standing in front of the person who just, you know, gave up in to the benefit of your people. So it's kind of like a shot in the face. I don't know. Right. You could have done something more subtle. Of course, it's the title of the movie, but yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure.
Had to drop the line.
There was a little foreshadowing with future stuff when Namor's talking about. You know what I mean? When he's like,
oh, yes. Yeah, so at the end where Namor is telling Namora, because Namora was pissed. She was like, I can't believe you just yielded and bent the knee to them, you know? And his reasoning behind it was solid. And shoot, I'm forgetting. I know he said we're going to need them, or we need...
Yeah, he's like, the surface world is going to come for Wakanda.
Yes.
Eventually. I don't know how he knew that, but Wakanda's going to turn to us. And then it kind of pans out to show this weird painting of the Talocan god kind of grappling with Bast, the Wakandan god. So just
I missed that.
Foreshadowing a future of some kind of conflict.
Okay.
It's not over.
So that is actually has to do with my prediction for what Black Panther 3 may entail. So my theory for Black Panther 3 is I think we get the U.S. government and possibly, most likely, other countries as well, forcefully trying to acquire vibranium and invading Wakanda and actually starting a war with Wakanda, to which I think they might reach out to Namor for some help and be like, look, the surface world is coming for us now. You know, we had a agreement there, a truce, and we need your help kind of deal. And we get a battle of vibranium versus the rest of the world kind of deal.
You might hold some water there, dude. It looks like it's going to be Wakanda versus the world, and Namor will be a key player in that situation, or the Talocan people.
Yeah, no, it took away from my pride because I was very proud of this theory I was like, I think that's actually I think that could happen. And then it's like, yeah, he kind of said that in the movie. It's like, I guess it wasn't that creative. But yes, I think that will happen.
And apparently, all right, so the last scene with M'Baku,
yes.
he like dropped down into the challenge arena. Is he like king of Wakanda?
Is she going to let him be king? I think, because I don't think she wants to be queen, first off. Another classic, I don't want it trope with our main characters in the last few years of stuff we've watched. And he did, he competed for it against T'Challa. And I think he's shown to Shuri that he's wise, more so than his meathead persona comes off as, they all call them Musclehead Jabari and all that stuff. But I think his talk with Shuri about the death of Queen Ramonda and about her becoming Black Panther and all that stuff, I think that kind of put some trust in Shuri regarding M'Baku being a leader. And so, yeah, I think could be what that was. Like, they thought Shuri was going to show up to have somebody challenge her for the throne, but really it's M'Baku. And he's like, yeah, I'm waiting for challengers. So that was actually pretty cool. And I love M'Baku's character.
M'Baku in this movie, I liked M'Baku so much more in this movie. And I did like him before, but he had limited screen time. But every single second of dialogue he had, I freaking loved M'Baku more than ever. Yeah. On the other hand, so Shuri, all right, you remember how if they challenge for the throne, they take away the Black Panther power. Yes. There's no way Shuri's going to beat anybody if she takes away that Black Panther power, dude.
Yeah, because she kicks ass, but she's got the sonic gauntlets and all that stuff. It's not like it's tech.
Technologically. Exactly. It's like Tony Stark stepping in the arena without his Iron Man suit. It's just, I don't see, she's not going to beat anybody. Yeah. But I think she might have gained the respect to such a point where they're just going to accept her as queen. But I think M'Baku is going to be king of Wakanda.
Yeah.
I don't know what if they marry? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's the options on the table for sure. But yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be the king of Wakanda. And Winston Duke absolutely killed it in this movie. I enjoyed him in the last one too. But yeah, like you said, every time he's on screen, he's just saying something worth listening to. And he's just got this charisma and this humor to him while being menacing and intimidating. So it's just a really cool character.
Yeah.
So, Lub, let's get your overall thoughts and rating on the movie. What do you got?
So, I think this is one of the most powerful movies in MCU history, with Black Panther 1, Infinity War, and Endgame when it comes to the emotional ride I was on. And maybe No Way Home, but for sure. It's all about grief and how to deal with it, and how is it going to change your life for the good or bad? How are you going to deal with this to move on? Or is it going to stick with you forever? Namor was a complex villain who I cannot wait to see again. I'm glad they kept him alive. I see maybe an alliance coming in the future. Maybe a little wedding proposal. You never know. Ooh. The costume and score was off the charts. They got the guy from the first movie, the guy who does the Mando score. Yeah. So I really enjoyed this movie. I do need to see it again before I can put it on my top 5, top 10 rankings,
I was going to ask you. Okay.
Right. It's definitely top 10 for sure.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So I do have it rated at a 9.3.
Dang. Okay. That's awesome. We needed that.
Right?
We needed that. All right.
And just a couple nitpicks, just the killing Riri, and I think that Val was super unnecessary.
Killing Riri.
And Riri was
the plan to kill her.
The reasoning.
Of killing her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Val's involvement in the movie.
Yeah, it was cool but unnecessary.
Sure. All right, real quick, Lub, what do you think Black Panther 3 will entail? What do you think the plot line going forward could be for the Wakandans next?
I liked JD's, or who said the theory of the two other warriors trying to take over Namor's throne, so he comes to make an alliance.
Don't give that to JD. That was me.
I'll take credit.
I like that idea. Because it has to have Namor. And also, it needs to come out before Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, or in between those two. We need to see another Black Panther movie before all that happens. Because we need more name. We need something more with. We need something more with Namor before Avengers.
I would love that. I hope we do get him again before then, for sure.
Yeah. I want to say it's a 9.4. Like, I really freaking loved this movie so much, dude. Like, I haven't had this much enjoyment in an MCU in a movie theater with the Marvel Universe since No Way Home, for sure. And I also love how they introduced Talocan, and it almost seemed like a different movie outside of the MCU because there's such significant character. Like, this world that they live in seems so separate, which leads me to, I cannot wait for anybody in the MCU to meet Namor or find out about Talocan's existence. That's going to be so fun. It totally feels like in a phase 1, phase 2 when nobody knows each other and they're finally going to meet for the first time. Like when Thor first meets Iron Man or when Captain America first meets Loki, like that's how excited that matchup is going to be. Yeah, dude. And so like the acting with Shuri, I mean, Letitia Wright freaking killed it. The intensity of the battles, the action was amazing. Namor as a villain was top 3 probably. Oh man, dude, the execution was there. So 9.4, it's definitely a top 10 MCU movie.
Love it. It's just refreshing to hear. Again, it's refreshing to hear after the movies we've been rating recently since we started this podcast. And it's exciting. It's exciting to finally kind of have that back and get to go into this. And it's such a good movie. And for all of us to agree that it was a really, really good movie. And it was a treat. So I actually have the lowest rating of the 3. So you got a 9.4, Lub, you had a 9.3, and I got it at a 9.1 out of 10. So all above 9s. Obviously super solid. It's just this movie, man. So I'm an emotional guy, honestly, and this was an emotional movie. Like, this had jam-packed with all different types of emotions. But when you can tie in something so well that it's like, it's heartwarming, but also heartbreaking. But then there's those times of vengeance and the grief and the anger and humor, and they just hit every note with all of that from start to finish for the film. Was it a perfect movie? No, but it was complete. It was one of the most complete start to finish MCU movies that was just solid all the way through. Yeah, I had nitpicks here and there, but major issues? No. Like, again, usually the third act is where Marvel struggles, and they really delivered on this one. And the score, like I said, was incredible. When you have multiple actresses that deserve Best Supporting Actress nominations, you've got a good thing going. And Angela Bassett and Danai really, really need to get those nominations. And then we get an incredible villain to boot. To top it all off, we get Namor. He didn't get killed off. So we got a great villain introduced that didn't die at the end of it. Again, kind of a thing Marvel does. So we get to be excited for whatever happens. And yeah, his interaction with other characters, like there could be some fun scenes with that stuff happening again. So it's just overall start to finish, they just did a really, really solid job.
Yeah, for sure. Well said.
And you had it ranked in your top 10. I for sure have this ranked in my top 10. I still need to, it's hard to put the rankings into the MCU rankings after just seeing it in theaters. Yeah. It takes some time. It takes maybe rewatching some of the other MCU movies again to kind of feel where you're going to place it in your list, but 100% it's top 10 for me too.
What a treat.
Yep. And this movie included 7 different languages spoken during it. So it probably had the most subtitles out of any MCU movie, but they did it great. I loved the style they put to it. They did the different colors for what language was speaking. You had yellow for the Wakandans, you had the bluish teal for the Talocans, and then obviously we had French and a bunch of other languages too. But it was a cool way to do that because at points, I think Shuri somebody speaks in Talocan, and it like throws off Namor. Like they speak in his language, and he's like, "Whoa, wait, what?"
Like you speak the mother tongue,
right? Yeah, and I noticed it right off the bat with the subtitle color. I was like, "Oh, was that in oh, yeah, it was." So it was a cool, creative way to do the subtitles, and I know sometimes you can have too much in a movie if it's not done well, but I loved it.
Yeah, bro.
So before we head out of here, where do you think we're gonna see Black Panther next?
We will see a Black Panther in. Oh fuck! I want to see Kang Dynasty, dude. I want to say Kang Dynasty, but Secret War is like the safe bet. It's just the sooner the better, but it's so tough, dude. Like Shuri, I feel like she's like a tentative Black Panther. Like she's kind of just the interim character. It's so tough when you got her T'Challa the son, dude. Like that's such a great question, bro. I'm baffled. I just don't even know.
Yeah, I know.
The sooner the better.
Right. Yeah, I think we'll get Dora Milaje sooner, obviously, because they're easy to kind of work in here and there. I think they might pop up with Everett in Thunderbolts. Yeah, I think maybe we get a little cameo appearance by them.
That'd be sick.
So I could see that working. But yeah, my answer is actually kind of closer to your last one for it. I really don't know because it all depends on what projects they go with in between now and Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Whenever it is, though, I'm excited to see it. And I agree with that as well, that Shuri might just be a temporary Black Panther because, again, this isn't what she wanted. Her goal, her dream wasn't to be the Black Panther. She did it because she had to. So I could totally see it being passed on.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about wraps up our coverage of this movie here. Thank you, Ryan Coogler, for putting the MCU back on track. I think we're all a lot more hopeful for the future of the MCU. We needed this. Really needed this. So we got Ant-Man coming out in February. I think that's going to be another solid step forward, and hopefully it just propels us back into the golden ages of the MCU. We'll see. Real quick, did you hear what Kevin Feige said, speaking about the golden ages of the MCU? What he wants with Secret Wars?
He's like contacting every previous character, like ever, to come back to Secret Wars.
Yeah. And some people said every Marvel character ever. So they were talking about like, pre-MCU characters being brought in. So they had the X-Men people, they had a couple Fantastic Four and this little imaging and stuff, which as long as they don't have a ton of screen time, that could be a cool little, like, just a quick little cool cameo appearance, stuff like that. So
it's a multiversal battle, dude. You could bring anybody you want into this. And with how it made sense in No Way Home. Mm-hmm. I have trust in Kevin Feige if he's, really a part of the creative process there.
Totally. The future is bright for the MCU. Well, join us next time as we dive into Andor episode 11. And after that, we're going to stretch our creative brains out a little bit and see what type of episode titles and ideas all of these hosts here at whysosidious can come up with. So we got a couple exciting ideas in the works already. We're excited to bring you more news. So if you want to hear what we're going to be doing, go ahead and follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, where we'll post some updates about future episodes. You get all the inside scoop there. And hey, if you want us to do a specific episode, follow us on social media or shoot us an email at whysosidious@yahoo.com with an episode suggestion, and we'll talk about it during our next episode. And if it's a dumb idea, we'll make fun of you a little bit during the episode. And if it's a good idea, we'll consider it, or, tell people it was our own idea. So, as always, thank you for joining us here on another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast.